Catch and release. That's what I say. But
That's what ICE does.
But for Trump, for someone who has the highest office in the land, yeah, I mean, I'd like to see his ass in the dock answering for his crimes. So I think there is an argument there.
Highest office in the land. I don't think he's the chairman of the Federal Reserve.
Oh, John. Well, he picked Stephen Moore, and he won't be either. So
Democrats are like, not Jewish enough.
All right. Anyway.
Well, I'm sorry. Who of the three previous chairmen of the Federal Reserve, Ethan? I wonder what ethnicity they've been.
Well, I'd like to have another Jew in there, John. They're smart, okay?
The Federal Reserve runs so smoothly, does such a good job steering the American economy away from disaster.
No, I'm in favor of. I don't care about ethnicity. I'm just in favor of the smartest person we can get, John. Okay.
Well, Ethan, that's why you're canceled.
We
need
if that person,
a black trans person, okay?
All right. If the smartest person they can find happens to be a Jew, I'm fine with it, okay?
I love it. Now you're like, hey, if the racial science says that Jews statistically have an on average IQ that entire white people, so be it.
John, I said individual, okay? We're not talking about groups here. Jesus Christ, you're such a fucking
we are talking
Nazi,
about groups.
John. I said happens to be a Jew. Anyway.
I don't think that's part of Nazi ideology. Is that like, yes, Jews are smarter than us,
and they should be allowed to run our economy.
I don't think that wasn't a big part of Nazism.
that was what Hitler ended all his speeches with. It was a huge applause line.
Hitler's like, the statistics are clear. These sneaky Jews, they're way smarter than us, you guys.
If we want to beat Winston Churchill, there's only one way. All right.
And then Winston Churchill's like, oh shit, Hitler's learned the secret of British power. Give the Rothschilds even more power now.
All right. Sometimes I feel like this show will not be taken with the irony and humor that it is meant. I'm just worried we're going to get canceled someday, John.
Well, Ethan, I think we're good until one of our listeners goes off the deep end, you know?
Oh, Jesus Christ. But John, think of the Patreon donations, though, John.
I know, right?
We'll have to move over
we'll have to move over to Patreon, but I think it'll be worth it.
John, I'm not paying 14.88%, okay? They charge too much over there at Patreon.
I thought it was a usury-free environment. What the hell, Patreon?
Yeah, well, they don't hate profits, John, okay?
That'd be so funny if you find out who's running Patreon and it's the Jews.
Patreon,
the Nazis are... Yeah, Patreon. Like the Nazis are like, look, I'll be honest. I don't know how the tax code works.
I have no idea. I'm really at sea, you know? Hey, this is funny. So did you see that... well, no, actually, let's talk about this because it's about anti-Semitism. What do you think about the anti-Semitic cartoon, John, that's been going through Facebook and the news lately?
Which one? The New York Times one?
Yes, John. The New York Times magazine.
I know that has been in like some of the groups I'm in. That is, we have just been reveling in that of people calling the New York Times anti-Semitic.
That seems crazy.
It's been a lot of fun for us.
I mean, the New York Times is not anti-Semitic. It's not an anti-Semitic publication. Let's be clear about that, right?
No.
I mean, they're definitely a lot. They have a lot of Jewish contributors. I would not say that it's anti-Israel or anything like that.
No,
it's not anti-Zionist. It's not anti-Semitic. It's not anti-Zionist. It's for certainly left of center in its editorial bent. So,
although I would say the last two cartoons have been pretty anti-Zionist.
So I missed whatever the first cartoon you're talking about is, but the one that everyone is talking about this week is, so it's got a picture of Benjamin Netanyahu as a
friend of the pod
guide dog, and he's got a Star of David around his neck just to make sure you know which country he's from.
Just in case the nose isn't big enough for you.
And then he's leading a blind caricature of Donald Trump. And so
Who's wearing a yarmulke, by the way.
He's Trump's service animal. I didn't know that he was wearing a yarmulke. I missed that. Oh, okay. Oh, that is more anti-Semitic than I thought.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. The New York Times is a fucking Nazi rag and should be burned to the ground.
Honestly, though, like this cartoon,
Trump wearing a yarmulke makes it way more anti-Semitic. Holy shit.
Yeah, it does. And I would say that this cartoon actually does qualify as an anti-Semitic, piece of propaganda here. Because the idea that Trump is blind and he's being led astray by Israel and he's wearing a yarmulke, I don't know, that does kind of strike me as fucking anti-Semitic, Ethan.
Well, I mean, so when I actually was thinking this is much ado about nothing, and I was like, everyone's always saying everything is goddamn anti-Semitic. Like, come on, everyone relax. And like people are saying this has many anti-Semitic stereotypes. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, maybe it has one, but it's many. Like I'd like to see a list, but okay. But I was just thinking, like before I knew about the yarmulke thing, I can't believe I missed that. I was like, I think that some of this just comes from the fact that the flag of Israel has the Star of David. So the Star of David is simultaneously the symbol of the state of Israel and the symbol that the Nazis used to mark the Jews. So
right, yeah.
I was like, well, what if forget the yarmulke thing, but what if it had just shown like a Russian flag and Putin's face leading Trump? Would people be like, this is Russophobic, or if it was like a North Korean flag and Kim Jong-un's face, both of which could be true. You could do both those cartoons and it would fit the narrative, right?
Yes.
Or a Confederate flag and David Duke's face, John.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Ethan, Russophobia, and I mean like genuine Russophobia, is okay right now among liberal elite journalists and academic types. Like it really is like one of those things where it's like, oh, and they met with Russians, and it's like, well, are these Russians members of the Russian government? No, but they're Russians. Like there is this whole thing that like being like it's like hails back to like Marx, that they're like sneaky Slavs or whatever.
Hey, John, I'd just like to get it out there that I am not Russophobic. I'm actually Russophilic. I love Russian girls to pee on me.
You wanted the collusion.
And step on my balls. Yeah. And Russian guys, too. Let's just open it up, Why not,
Did you see the other anti-Israeli cartoon that they made?
No, what is the other one?
It's Bibi Netanyahu. Like the idea is supposed to be it's like him, descending Mount whatever when he got like the 10 Commandments,
Mount Sinai, John. Wow. Really missed
Mount Sinai.
Really missed that day in Mass.
I couldn't remember if it was Sinai or like Ararat or whatever.
Ararat is where the Noah's Ark left. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, anyway,
and so any more Bible-related questions, I'll be happy to fucking fill you in, you papist, ignorant.
Yeah, but when you say "fill me in," you mean something disgusting.
Not as disgusting as what those Catholic pederast priests are up to, John.
Which you say is fine.
I never said that.
You said, "Gabe, we need more gay priests."
No, I said, John, I said Russophilia. Okay.
Oh, excuse me.
I've been accused of being a Russophile, actually. I was never convicted, though.
But anyway, so Bibi Netanyahu is descending Mount Sinai, and he's holding like a tablet, and the tablet is, the Star of David, and he's like got like a selfie stick, and he's just taking a selfie holding like the Star of David tablet, And so like basically the idea is that like I think that Zionism, is like, oh, Bibi Netanyahu's trying to make Zionism like a religious thing, and it's like, well, there's some believe it or not, New York Times editorial staff.
Well, is this because they're atheists? How the fuck? Okay, that's not actually anti-Semitic. It's just literally like it's anti-religion. It's ignorant. Like Moses, the guy, the promised land Moses. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, exactly.
Like literally the guy who's most famous for, the other thing besides the 10 Commandments is that he's famous for leading the Israelites into the promised land, which was Israel.
The land. Yeah, the land promised by God,
Right.
to the Israelites. Yes, and that's what's so funny. Is like I'm. Are you just kind of like you're shocked by the irony of
Yes,
this?
just like, oh, hey, well, wow, it's almost like you guys are acting like God promised it to you. It's like it's on the Ten Commandments or something. It's like, well, no, it's not in those, but yes, if you look at the verses right before and after that one, it's mentioned quite a lot.
Yeah, like that's the funny thing. It's like oh yeah, these Jews think that like they have like some religious right to this land, and it's like as a Catholic, it's like well actually that's a solid argument there. I could see the case being made.
Yeah, I mean, that is the case, absolutely. Also, other religions have some claims as well, John, as you're aware.
Well, by religions, of course, you mean heretics, Ethan.
Well, you said as a Catholic that the
Muslims.
Jews are heretics, John.
No, they're not. They're not heretics. They're just like they just need to be, pushed a little bit in the right direction.
Well, the Muslims are almost in the right direction too, John.
Well, I don't know about that either. I don't want to push the Jews in that direction.
They find Jesus to be very important, and they think it's offensive when people make fun of Jesus.
They also deny his not only his resurrection but his crucifixion in one of like the bizarrest heresies I've ever heard.
Well,
But-
John, a lot of us deny that. All right, just join the club.
But what's so funny about like this New York Times thing is like they did this cartoon first, and people are like, "Oh, this is kind of anti-Semitic," and they're like, "Oh yeah, get a load of this next one," And and by the way, I can see why people are saying that the first one is just dumb,
It's
and it's
really
like the person who
stupid,
drew
yeah.
this has no fucking concept of any of this.
It's made by
Any of
Richard
these subjects
Dawkins or something.
but the next one, like of Bibi Netanyahu leading a blind yarmulke wearing Trump, like that is anti-Semitic because there are old cartoons of like Jews leading Gentiles, places that are bad. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say it fits a lot of the old anti-Semitic tropes. when
Okay,
it comes
so
to
you're saying
cartoons.
it does fit the anti-Semitic tropes. I was like, which one?
I am saying
and
that.
you're saying, okay, the Jews leading people in the wrong, astray, and then
leading
also,
the goyim somewhere, yeah, that the astray, yes.
I feel like though it is of a piece with like sort of what political cartoons do, which is they're like they show like influence.
They
and
roast the
that's-
Jews.
They, that's not what I mean. But seriously, you could have done the same cartoon with Putin or with Kim Jong-un or something, and no one would have been like, "This is this is racist against Asians or something or Korean."
I guarantee that what's his name, Ben Shapiro, if they did like the Putin one, he would have called it Russophobic, and then everyone would have been like, "Shut up, Nazi."
Well, anyway, it's fine for the New York Times to get get in trouble with it. It's just funny because they're definitely not an anti-Semitic publication, and it's just funny that they get in trouble for this. It's funny.
It is funny, and it's good.
But I do not like the collapsing of the categories of anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism together. They are absolutely not the same thing, and it's only in the interest of a particular group to say that they are Nazis and also Zionists.
Boy, can you imagine if those two sides just put their differences aside and just teamed up? Zionists
They're like,
Nazis.
we feel like we should be in our own homeland, away from everyone else. We feel that way too. Oh my God.
And it's like, boy,
Madagascar, and it's close. It's not Madagascar. Yeah.
like Netanyahu's reading Mein Kampf, and he's like, some interesting debating tactics in this book that I might employ.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you saw there was another cartoon made in response to that one where it's like the dog has New York Times written on him. He's wearing a white hood that says anti-Semitic. He's wearing a dog collar that has like the Democrat D on it. And the blind person being led is some Antifa hipster in like a hoodie, and it says the radical left.
Who made this? Ben Garrison?
No, it's at legalinsurrection.com.
Okay. That's sort of funny. I guess this is also of a piece with the whole thing with like, didn't Jeremy Corbyn get caught this week for some anti-Semitic remarks?
Yeah, he like wrote the foreword to a book that's saying Jews control all the banks.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Which here's the thing about that, because like there was actually a very similar scandal in the libertarian community about a year ago because this guy, I forget his fucking name. It's like I forget. It's like Chase Nichols or something like that. Anyway, he wrote a book about like right-wing libertarianism. It's about like libertarianism being a right-wing movement, and he got Hans Hermann Hoppe to write the foreword for it. And Hans Hermann Hoppe is kind of famous for having this quote of his misunderstood, because he was basically saying in like libertarian covenant communities, Democrats, social activists, homosexuals, blah blah blah, all those types would have to be like physically removed, and he didn't. And people have misinterpreted that to mean violently expelled, when he just meant that they would be like excluded, And so
okay.
this
is
guy,
some weird, like, I don't know, what?
all I'm saying is Hans Hermann Hoppe wrote the foreword for this book and had no idea that the cover for this book was going to show like a Pinochet helicopter and like all these dead commies hanging from it.
Oh my God. Okay.
Like he had no fucking clue that that's what this book was doing, and he thought it was just like another book on like Rothbardian libertarianism. And when he found out about it, he like took the forward back, and there was this big, to do in the libertarian community about it. And so what I'm saying is like it is entirely possible that Jeremy Corbyn did not know that this guy was going to write a book about how Jews control the banks when he wrote the foreword.
Okay, I see. Yeah. Yeah, well, there's a lot of accusations of anti-Semitism flying around right now.
But there is a genuine anti-Semitism problem within labor, in the Labor Party
and within Antifa, this cartoon is saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, like they're.
I don't know. I feel like it's really more.
Antifa. I don't know.
I feel like it's really true in the radical left, which I know. Like, I actually know someone who's Jewish who would be considered in that group.
Yes,
who is
exactly.
an anti-Zionist Jew. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
they're out there.
Plenty of those people actually out there, and there are plenty of people who think that Israel does a lot of things wrong in the Middle East, and Israel should maybe exist, but not in its current form, and it should be drastically sanctioned for its human rights violations and all this kind of stuff.
For its racism.
Yeah, and it's an apartheid state and all that sort of thing. And I think that
sure.
the case is made probably a little bit too strongly there, but I think that it's like a legitimate political opinion to hold, to argue. I don't think that I don't think that it's just cover for racism. And mostly on the left, I do not think that it is cover for some kind of anti-Semitism. I think it's actually a legitimate, common cause with the oppressed kind of normal leftist stuff.
Yes, it is that. I agree.
I know that like Joe Duena sent some, and our Jewish listeners, well, our one super right-wing Jewish listener, will probably disagree with that point, but that is my take on it.
Well, what else is no? I will say though, I just did see a pretty fucking horrifying video last week of some IDF soldiers like executing a 16-year-old Palestinian, which was like. I was like, oh my God. So I think there is some of that stuff, but also obviously like, the Hamas like hides in hospitals and launches rockets from there, like daring the IDF to blow up. Oh, you're going to kill all these innocent people just because I'm in here shooting rockets at civilians, So like, let's just make a clean slate and turn it into a white Christian ethno state, Ethan.
No, John, Jesus Christ. That's more horrifying.
Fine. Let's lose the ethno state thing. Just Christian then.
But John, then we wouldn't be able to have all the countries line up properly for Armageddon.
You cut out there. I didn't hear.
We need, if we're going to have Armageddon unfold as it's told in the Book of Revelation, then we need the Jews there in order to.
Ethan, as far as I can tell, the Antichrist is already sitting in the White House.
Oh my God! Well, then it's only a matter of time, John.
and Stormy Daniels is the whore of Babylon.
Oh my God. And ISIS is cutting off the heads of
Anti-Semitism, good or bad?
Christians, so that's wow, we're hitting all the boxes here. Anti-Semitism is bad, John.
But, I thought you supported free expression and those things.
Anti-Semitism is bad. Nazism is bad. Racism is bad. All these things are bad. I don't necessarily think that you should take away people's right to free speech when they do them, but those things
Here's
are
a
bad.
question for you. Is Zionism bad, Ethan?
It's fine for the Jews, John. No, it's that's a joke answer. I don't actually think that it's wrong though to fight for the area that you believe is your homeland. You have one side there looks at it as a holy war, and the other side looks at it as a pitched battle for their very survival. I mean, man, sparks are going to fly in that situation.
But which side's which?
Oh, I think that the Muslims, Hamas, and these kind of those the groups in solidarity with the Palestinians and allied to terrorist organizations and that sort of thing. Those guys, to some extent, look at it as holy war, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. But for a second, I could see both those comments, construed for both sides.
I don't feel like most of the Jews in Israel, most Israelis, necessarily feel like it's exactly a holy war.
I think atheism is like the predominant.
I think they look at themselves as a modern, multicultural state to some extent, but also one that does have a predominant ethnicity and a prominent identity, and they look at it as a fight for survival. And I think that the religious Israelis and the atheist Israelis, I think they can make common cause there over the idea of the fight for Jewish identity and Jewish survival, and with enemies on every side. So that's kind of, I think, the animating message there, as opposed to pure religious holy war. So I think, and I think it's understandable when people want to fight for like self-determination within their own homeland. I don't really have a problem with sort of Zionism per se, but of course the question is, the devil's in the details. What's actually happening on the ground there? And if IDF soldiers are killing, children, then that's a bad thing. So I think just take every incident individually and look at it. I don't think we should make a blanket statement like Zionism is wrong or Zionism is good.
What a centrist take, Ethan.
Just depends, John. Depends on the details. I'm running for office, by the way. I'm running for president. As a Republican, John.
You're like, Zionism is good when the Jews doing it aren't Nazis. When the Nazi Jews are up to Zionism, that's bad.
Oh, sure. I hate Nazis. We should punch them.
I especially hate the Jewish Nazis, Ethan.
I hate them all the same, John. How about that?
Yeah, I hate them all equally, too. You're right.
The Nazis, I mean.
Of course.
Okay, good.
Echo.
Nazis echo.